And welcome again to another John's Media World Extra. We've got our plate full today, so let's start off with the Southern Poverty Law Center problem. That group has helped track hate groups and crime, but it's now being targeted by the Trump administration that seems to be giving a lot of people pardons lately that have actually committed crimes. Oh, well, what can you do? This is the Justice Department. A grand jury says SPLC, Southern Poverty Law Center, paid informants supporting the KKK. Well, no kidding. That's what happens. That's how you do it. I've got a reporter that asked that very question to Todd Blanche. Let's check that out.
I just want to make sure I understand. You're alleging that the Southern Poverty Law Center was paying the leaders of KKK and other groups to continue their operations? Is that?
I'm not alleging it. The grand jury returned an indictment that says
Oh, no,
that.
not that.
And so what the investigation found, according to the indictment that was returned today, is that they were paying. So the Southern Poverty Law Center is raising money, asking folks to give them money to dismantle racism, and over a very long period of time, they were using some of the money they raised from donors to pay to, they called them field, basically to informants, for information, for access, to just pay them for certain to do certain things, and so yes, that's exactly what the indictment charges.
No, sure, and it's the way they presented it to the grand jury. So the grand jury just saw one side, and that's what they decided to do. Well, let's take a look at the Southern Poverty Law Center and their investigations into all of this stuff. Now, I'd like to present another comment. This is from Cash Patel. Always interesting to hear his point of view on all of this stuff. So let's check it out.
Used the fraudulently raised money by lying to their donor network, thousands of Americans, to go ahead and actually pay the leadership of these supposed violent extremist groups. The groups, as the general laid out, include the Ku Klux Klan, the United Klans of America, Unite to Right, National Alliance, the National Socialist Movement, the Aryan Nation Motorcycle Club, and the National Socialist Party of America, and also the American Front. They attempted to hide their criminal activity from our financial banking network. They set up shell companies and entities around America so that the financial institutions that we rely on as everyday Americans were deceived in believing that money was not coming from the Southern Poverty Law Center in the perpetration of this scheme and fraud, but rather fictitious entities they stood up to perpetuate this ongoing fraud. This is a serious and egregious violation of a group that purported to dismantle violent extremist groups, but in turn actually only fueled the hatred. Used the fraudulent...
Fueled the hatred of these extremist groups. I think we already hate them. We don't necessarily need to fuel that, but the Southern Poverty Law Center has been going after them. And these fake accounts, these fake names, make it very difficult for anyone to track down who's paying for them. That is another reason why the Southern Poverty Law Center did what they did. Now, this administration, the Justice Department, is portraying that as fraud. And we depend on those banks because, all right. Now, let's go to an actual law opinion on this thing. Attorney Joyce Vance wrote this. The Justice Department is going after SPLC on a tenuous theory. At the same time, it's making sure the kind of people the center tracks are walking free. The message is, it's open season as long as you support the president. And again, we talked about all the pardons from people who actually committed crimes. So that's what's going on. The Southern Poverty Law Center is now being discredited in the public eye. They're not manufacturing the extremism, not setting people against these extremist groups, because that's already being done just by themselves. But they're gathering intelligence, and they pass that along to the FBI. Now maybe they won't. They're being criminalized. So what happens when organizations that monitor extremism and share threats with law enforcement are themselves targeted. What does happen then? Good question. All right, next up, this. Mad King Don is again threatening to kill everyone in Iran. President Trump calls out Iran, saying the regime is lying to save face about wanting the Strait of Hormuz closed. And I'm quoting now. But if we do that, there can never be a deal with Iran unless we blow up the rest of their country, their leaders included. So that's everybody in the country, not just the leaders. But then again, Trump went ahead and claimed another ceasefire indefinitely until Iran comes back with a deal of their own. All right. Now, the good news is that Virginia voters passed new congressional maps and giving 10 seats to the Democrats and just 1 to the Republicans. I just love that idea. Now let's get to something that has to do with technology. I love technology, and I thought this was a great comment because it's against Elon. The creator of Linux, Linus Torvalds, just unknowingly obliterated Elon Musk in just one sentence. That is the post, and I think it's kind of fun to watch.
There was a recent thing. Developers were asked to say how many lines of code they wrote, and if it wasn't enough, they were terminated.
Anybody who thinks that's a valid metric is too stupid to work at a tech company.
You do know who you just said that about, right? He was a prominent figure in the improved efficiency of the U.S. government recently.
Oh, apparently I was spot on.
Yeah, there you go. Oh, I love little geek humor, don't you? All right, now let's go to the Supreme Court. Justice John Roberts isn't this nice guy calling balls and strikes. He's actually a radical, and we can thank the lever for at least letting us know some of the details. This is David Sirota.
Supreme Court Justice John Roberts is back in the news after documents just leaked showing him pressing the court to help energy companies block pollution rules. It was a classic case of so-called judicial activism, the very kind that John Roberts himself warned about. Take a look at memos the lever unearthed, the ones written by John Roberts when he was a Reagan administration lawyer. Quote, judges should interpret the law, not make or execute it. Quote, the federal judiciary today usurps the role of the political branches. That all culminated in Roberts promising at his confirmation hearing to never be an activist judge.
And I will remember that it's my job to call balls and strikes and not to pitch or bat.
Okay, now fast forward. Documents just leaked showing Roberts demanded an unprecedented immediate stay of President Obama's clean power rules because Roberts insisted that reducing pollution would mean, quote, private industry will suffer irreparable harm. So the guy who made his name warning about activist judges decided to be one of the single most aggressive activist judges in American history in order to protect corporate polluters. The next time around, if there is a next time, we must remember John Roberts warned us about judges like John Roberts.
Yep. And now you have been warned. Oh, boy. We kind of knew that. And he went along with a lot of those other justices in regards to some of these decisions. So it was pretty obvious from the get-go. Now let's go to a person who lies an awful lot. That is Trump. He was on Squawk Box the other day, and he was told that, the inflation rate was kind of low, around 3%. Well, Trump had to correct that information.
I just want to return for 1 second and make an analogy here. You saw what inflation did to the Biden legacy and administration. So 22% price increases. By the time he was leaving, it was down to about where it is now, about 3%. But not a single.
It was down to 5%. It wasn't.
Oh my
down.
God.
Well, or 3, but not a single
And the reason
person.
it was down was because I had won the election, and it started falling after I won the election.
Oh my
I
gosh.
started getting prices down from,
Really?
from right after November 5th.
Well, what did you do exactly? What was it? What made the prices fall immediately? Truly unbelievable. It really fell dramatically until April, and after that, it started increasing again. And, that's just a legacy part of the Biden administration until April. But let's get the facts straight here. The 12-month inflation rate was 2.9 in December of 2024 and 3% in January of 2025 when Biden left office. Not 5% as our madman in the White House is claiming live on TV. All right? Now, there's something else we got to bring up here. Our madman in the White House is starting to consolidate power. That's right. He's firing a lot of people, mass firings. This is Troy Kuhn's, his report.
Extremely serious news tonight. More than 100 national security staffers, some of the top people in the national security sector in the government, have been dismissed this evening with only 30 minutes to pack up their desks and leave their positions. The Trump administration has officially whittled down the NSC staff to almost nothing, meaning right now the United States of America does not have a national security apparatus sufficient to respond to possible threats both at home and abroad. All that remains is Donald Trump and his own presidential power. He is actively consolidating power within the executive by firing those around him, by dismissing those who he believes are not fully loyal to the cause. And these 100 national security officials spanned all types of positions. They had only 30 minutes to clean out their desks. An administration official told CNN, quote, "It's as unprofessional and reckless as could possibly be."
That is Troy Kuhn's reporting. And consolidation of power, of course. We've got 2 more years of this. Yeah, I'm freaking out. All right, now let's get to something called real faith. And this is just another warning shot. Christian nationalism is closer than you think. Let's watch.
Feminism came for our women, transgenderism came for our children, socialism came for our money, and Islam is coming to conquer after our women, our children, and our money is taken by corruption. I believe this is the demonic agenda for our day. I believe this is Satan's blueprint for battle.
Battle. Now, that's tough language. Now, who is inciting people to go to battle? Right? The Christian nationalists. That's who. All right, now, we don't just have trouble with a whole bunch of MAGAs being left behind once Trump leaves office, but we've got to deal with Christian nationalism, which, by the way, has taken a firm grip in this country. So they are our next threat. They are the next shoe to drop on all this. Now, let's go to Chip Roy. He hates Muslims. Chip Roy is taking aim at free speech and freedom of religion, introducing a bill that would target immigrants who support socialism, communism, Chinese communism, Marxism, or Islamic fundamentalism. He's calling it the Mamdani Act. He doesn't have a problem, does he? Now, turning the page to something that's a little more fun to talk about, and that is automats. Automats? Food kiosks? Come on. They're coming back, folks. They are coming back. This time they're called Robotic Bistros. It's not a new idea. Germany started this way back in 1895, putting up these automats where you could pick up food instantly by just putting a little money in and then opening the door, pulling your food out. Now we're bringing it back with Robotic Bistros. Let's look at what it looked like way back when. Here's a video clip of that. Yep, see, he's drawing some black coffee there. They had coffee mugs. Now you can see all of the food, cakes, pies, people looking at each one of those. I'm sure it's tantalizing behind those glass doors. Yeah, that's gorgeous. Wonder why that didn't catch on. Pretty cold and ruthless, isn't it? I just want to pause here in regards to this. It didn't work out. And the simple reason why is because they actually still had to have a gigantic staff of cooks and servers behind that wall of doors and kiosks. Okay, so that is the problem. It still was very costly to do. and making all that food available. I'm sure a lot of it went to waste. I mean, that is a lot of food. But now we've got the robotic Bistro. So let's check that out.
By some of the most iconic brands in the entire world. It's called Just Baked, and it's completely changing how people get hot, delicious meals 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, wherever they are. Each kiosk uses state-of-the-art robotics to scan, prep, cook, and serve delicious hot dishes behind a gorgeous 50-inch touchscreen display. Our rotating menus put branded favorites right at your fingertips, including everything from piping hot White Castle sliders to decadent Nestle Toll House delicious cookies.
Oh, I can't wait for those. Can't you just go to the store? It doesn't matter. Anyway, they're putting these kiosks up simply because there's nothing else for us to do, right? Right. Which reminds me, by the way, of a restaurant way back, I believe it was in the 60s. It's a family restaurant. I went there only once. It was called Here's Johnny's. And yes, from The Tonight Show, Johnny Carson. And it was a bold move by Johnny to actually put these restaurants in because you went in, you sat at a booth, but, where they have like jukeboxes on the table, that was actually an intercom system, and you would order your food a little separated from the restaurant staff. But anyway, you'd push the button and order, and they would talk back and forth. And that's where the trouble came in, of course, having a conversation, pushing a button, letting the button off, hearing the staff. Want fries with that? It became very uncomfortable and difficult to do. So it didn't work out. That restaurant, Here's Johnny's, the automated restaurant, lasted only about 6 months, and I never got a chance to go back thinking, maybe I didn't give it a chance. Maybe it was just too new for me to warm up to, but no one warmed up to it. That's called Here's Johnny's. It didn't work out. All right, time for me to whine. This is a pet peeve of mine. It's when the media companies decided to abandon DVD and Blu-rays. That's right. They decided to get rid of the golden goose. They had the market. Back in 2005, they had a revenue stream of $16 billion selling VHS tapes and DVDs. So we could have our own copies, our own horrible, grainy copies on VHS and DVDs. They hated it. They got rid of it because they looked ahead. Some of those syndicated shows would be on other networks, so they wanted to protect that, have people go to those syndicated shows, watch TV, and forget about having their own copy in hand. So that was their reasoning. They didn't want to share that. They thought maybe people would make copies of these shows and then give them to their friends and they'd lose it all. But really, it was easy for people to watch the reruns on TV and pass out, right? I mean, that was it. We didn't bring out the box set of Leave It to Beaver or Seinfeld. We just tuned in and watched it and passed out. So anyway, they gave up that revenue stream. Now it's kind of coming back, people buying the Blu-rays out there simply because it's kind of a generational thing, and they want to kind of have these things in their hand. It's like vinyl, right? And the Gen Z is going out there and getting this stuff because they know that there's a lot of things they might want to see eventually, but it's all behind a paywall. And then, well, what do? Of course, they illegally obtain copies of this stuff. But other than that, they could actually buy a version if they wanted to. Anyway, I have that complaint to make because I've had trouble with this all along. And now I'm having currently a problem with it because I watched a great biopic. Well, it wasn't a biopic. It was a documentary essentially on Wisconsin's own Chris Farley, a comedian who was on Saturday Night Live. A great documentary. And I want to mention that it's MGM Plus that are doing these documentaries. They're doing Under the Stones, everybody. And it's really good stuff. It's on Prime. But anyway, I wanted to see Tommy Boy because they talked about, now that's a classic movie. It was rejected at the time. It wasn't successful at the time, but now it is. And I wanted to watch it. It's behind a paywall, $3 to see that. And also, that same thing happened when I watched the newer version of The Running Man. Well, I wanted to see the Arnold Schwarzenegger version way back when. It was crazier, but that also cost about $3 to see. Paywall. No way to see it for free, even with commercials. So, and then I was watching a grainy version on something I saved on my computer of Peter and the Wolf. It's an animated version by Disney, but it's very grainy. I wanted to see a clearer version. I have Disney Plus. What am I doing? Why don't I just watch it on Disney Plus? They don't have it on Disney Plus. Not enough room in the server? Come on. It's theirs. They made it. They don't have to pay a syndicator or somebody who produced the show originally. You don't have to do any of that. It's their own. And they don't have room on Disney Plus to have Peter and the Wolf, a classic animated show from Disney way back when I used to watch Disney on Sunday nights. So anyway, it's irritating. By the way, let me just bring this up too. A lot of people had gone through this. The Disney Vault. Does anybody remember the Disney Vault? The Disney Vault forced people to buy the latest version of a restored animated or movie from Disney. They'd come out with these and are gorgeous. They've improved the color, all of that. But you had to buy the VHS or eventually DVD. And if you didn't buy it in time, they'd lock it away in the Disney Vault. I'm not kidding you. What? Why? You went through all the trouble of colorizing it and improving the color and the resolution and restoring the damn thing. Hide it behind the Disney Vault. I don't understand that. Now, when my kids were like 3 and 6, I wanted them to see Zorro. It was my hero back then, and they were very young, so I thought this could be one of their first heroes as well, because they were watching Teen Titans at the time. So I looked, and it was unavailable anywhere. Nowhere. It just wasn't around. And Disney didn't have it available on a DVD. So I told my brother that, and I found out my brother was in the Disney fan club. And he said, oh, I saw they have the box set of Zorro in the Disney fan club. Wow. Not to the public, just the Disney fan club people? Yes, only them. So I joined the club, and when I went in to order it, it was out of stock. Forever, by the way, out of stock. So I never did get to show my kids Zorro. Great hero. Guy Williams was the absolute best Zorro. Grace and ease. Great sword fighter. Just unbelievable. Anyway, that's me. I like Antonio Banderas' version as well. And the newer version that's on Prime. If you have a chance to check that out, it's on Prime. Maybe on YouTube too, but it's fantastic. It's a Spanish version, and it is in Spanish. You have to go into your settings and have English audio set on it, but you would love it. It's gorgeous, just beautifully produced, and actually a pretty damn good story. But anyway, that's the Disney Vault, which seems to be still around. They're not calling it that anymore. They're just not putting it on Disney Plus. Like they don't have room for it on the shelves, right? That's it. That's the end of my bitch session on that. Okay, 2 more things. Party City is back. I couldn't believe they went out of business, okay? But Party City is actually back this time. You're going to have to look for it, though. It's going to be in the Staples office supply stores. So it's in Staples now. Party City. Check it out. And they're online, too. But, you know, it's hard to buy the balloons online, inflated. So check it out. Just thought I'd let you know. And one more thing. Democrat Eric Swalwell, of course, is dropping out of politics, has a few personal problems to take care of. But that's what Democrats do. They understand the outrage that people are feeling, and they bow out. Not so with Republicans. Florida Representative Cory Mills says he has no plans on leaving and will run for re-election. Wow. Get this. That is despite a committee investigating allegations of sexual misconduct and or dating violence and campaign finance violations. And he's not dropping out. That's it for John's Media World Extra. We'll talk again.